right? And then he also talks here about turning away from foolish disputes about inconsequential things.
Yeah.
Right. So, we've already talked about like egalitarianism.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
that can kind of fit into this category a little bit.
We said this verse back during COVID times. We talked about this verse a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to go into all that, but there were a lot of things like, okay, do we, the government said that we have to be closed, or they have to be all of these things, and some people didn't want to wear masks, and some people we're just like, look, we're here to share the love of Christ, and we're here to preach His word, and so we're going to do that. So if you want to wear a mask, okay. If you don't, okay, we're fine. Just come in here and worship Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think too, like when we talk about this too, I think one of the things I really think about here is when believers get ugly with other believers.
Oh yeah. Things like, I mean that's one, but
yeah,
you can go all kinds of things like the chairs over pews, or the color of the carpet, or changing the worship order, or all of these things. I mean, I'm sure you have bigger ones than that, though.
Well, yeah, I think because he says inconsequential. So when we say inconsequential, I think of things like what types of chairs, what color is the rug.
Yeah.
But I think there's also things that are like inconsequential to our salvation.
Yeah.
So like here's a good example from recent times. So Kirk Cameron, you know who Kirk Cameron is,
absolutely.
Right? So there was a bit of a controversy because Kirk Cameron on his podcast, talking with his son, they talked about hell and the doctrine of hell, and he commented that he was leaning towards annihilationism, right?
Yeah.
And or there's another word for it that he uses specifically, right?
Yeah.
And there was immediately like kind of this outcry of different folks, right? And so just to break it down as basic as I can, just for the sake of this analogy, the idea is that when you die, if you're not saved, you go to hell. But at some point, there is a final end, and you are annihilated. You're no more, right? That's the way that holds. So there's judgment, there's justice, and the more traditional view is that judgment goes on for eternity, right? And it's conscious torture, right?
Yeah.
So he's leaning more towards that annihilationism.
Mm-hmm.
Well, people start calling him a heretic.
Yeah.
Right? This is the thing that like I didn't understand whether you agree with him on the doctrine of hell.
Yeah.
I think we can both agree his version of hell and your version of hell are places you don't want to be.
Yeah.
Right? Like
they're still bad. You don't want to be there. Yeah.
You're spending
and when you are there and you can prove that you're right, it's going to be too late.
Right. Exactly. Right? Like, do you want to spend so much time discrediting the servants of God over their stance on the place you don't want to go?
Yeah.
Or do you want to spend your time in unity around getting people to the place that we do want to go?
Absolutely.
Right? And that, like, to me, that's kind of where we end up with that inconsequentialness and these foolish disputes where we want to criticize someone because of their denomination or because of their stance on something that doesn't have any bearing on our ultimate salvation.
Yeah, and I think that you put that perfectly, because you're exactly right. And just to add on to that, the more time you spend talking about those things, the more time and effort you spend, whether it be teaching or arguing about it, that's time and words that you're not using for the good of Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think in some ways too, you see people are behaving the way the world behaves.
Yeah.
And the way that Paul describes here in Titus.
Well, and also, when you think about that from folks who are looking at on the outside, you think, why would I want to be part of that? They can't even agree on like something like that. Like, why would I want that anyway?
Yeah. And it's not even a disagreement. It's how you treat somebody in that disagreement.
Yeah.
Right? And if we treat Christians in disagreement the way Republicans and Democrats treat each other in disagreement,
right?
What example are we setting?
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Because like I'm not going to go into that, but that like the way we treat each other politically when we disagree, has no place in Christian living.
Yeah, for sure.